Welcome to the Q.A.C. Team Podcast, your quality assurance consulting team. Quality is our highest priority for your business with one goal, one direction, success. And now here's your host, Charles Luttrell. Good evening, listeners. My guest this evening is a singer, songwriter, producer, a model, entrepreneur, and an author. Welcome, everybody, Erica Janelle. Erica, good evening.
Good evening. Hello, everyone.
How are you this evening, Erica?
I am doing fantastic. I am amazing.
Great.
I'm feeling amazing right now.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you taking some time to interview on my podcast. I know you are just as busy as I am. We are super busy.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's tell the audience, who you are and what you do. I think I'll throw a bunch of things out there. So let's go ahead and hear it from you personally.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Erica Janelle. I am a singer, songwriter, producer. I also am releasing my first EP. It is going to be on all digital platforms. Some platforms have it coming out on the 11th of August. Some have it on the 12th. Some have it all the way up to the 15th, depending on the platform. But this is a very big passion of mine. I've been singing since the age of 4. I've been on Broadway. I've done all kinds of background work for different artists. And now this was the first time of me stepping into my own personal music, which I had never officially written a real song, never produced a day in my life before this, definitely never mixed, definitely never mastered. And it all came together.
Mm-hmm.
And the passion for really doing it now came about as a result of me with my Relationship Talks podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
I was, one day doing my podcast and, I'm getting that off the ground. It's fairly new. And one day it just came to me, why don't you do your music and talk about all the different challenges, situations and circumstances that people face in relationships to help that become even more relatable. And music being a big passion and a big thing that I've been in for many years, it just flowed together. So the Relationship Talks EP, Relationship Talks with Erica Janelle EP, is an accompaniment to the podcast where we talk about all things relationships.
Right. And that's what I want to talk about, because I know, everything you do ties together,
Mm-hmm.
from singing, producing, your book that's coming out, or I think it's already out, right?
The book is out, but
The
that's
book
with
is
my
out.
nonprofit. We'll talk about that.
Right. Right. And I think, looking at everything that you do, it all ties together.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love to hear the story. And, especially this song you have out, Breaking Down. That's a
Yes.
great song. Let's talk
Everybody
about that
loves
a little
that
bit.
song.
I love that song. Let's talk about that song a little bit.
Okay, so we all know that there are times where you have to end a relationship. And so that it's not word for word an experience that I have, but there is a line in that song that talks about, I gave you my heart and now it's time for me to take it back. And I literally had that conversation with that person that I was in a relationship with. And it was like, I was done with I was tired of the cheating and the lying and the being manipulative and treating me as if I was stupid and I didn't understand what was going on. So it was like, it's an empowerment for anybody that's been taken advantage of in relationships. And when you really truly know your value and your self-worth, you take your ownership of your heart back. I gave it to you, but you didn't know what to do with it. So I took it back and I became the owner exclusively of my heart. You didn't deserve it. You didn't value it. You didn't cherish it. So I took it back and I own it now.
Powerful.
Yeah. So, a lot of it is some of my personal experience. Some of it is just experiences that people have in relationships. And I talk about all of the different facets. I talk about sex. I talk about, when it's time to fight for a relationship, when it's time to, actually get to the root of your challenges and stop talking around your challenges in relationships. I have a song called It's Intentional. And that is, I can't say one of my favorites, because I always say it's one of my favorites and then I listen to them again and I'm like, but I really like that one too.
Every song's their favorite, right? Yeah.
Because it came from my heart and it came from my passion. I want to get us as people back to the place of knowing that relationships don't have to be all of this drama. It doesn't have to be what you see on social media. It doesn't have to be a old antiquated mindset. I want people to understand that you can still be married and you can still have a successful relationship, a successful marriage. But like my song, It's Intentional, you have to be intentional with putting the work in. Nothing just happens. Nothing just works. It.
Right. And, you know, it kind of it hit my heart a little bit because I'm divorced,
Mhm.
and you
As
know,
am I.
right. So, and, you know, and over 11 years now, divorced, you know, you kind of you stop saying why, what happened, where did I go
Mhm.
wrong, you know, and I've learned to move beyond that and say, look, it's over. It happened to the past.
Mhm.
Today is today. And I
Mhm.
can't focus on that. Now I have to worry about, you
The
know, the
future.
future, and, you know, who do I lend my heart to now, you know?
Yeah, and what did
So,
you learn? What did you learn from it? And it's not necessarily what you've done wrong, but what did you learn? Like for
mhm,
me, I was always the person that gave more than what I received in return.
mhm,
And what it taught me was that is a part of me not valuing myself and not truly understanding my self-worth. But when
mhm,
I took some time and did the work, so I did the work. I go to therapy. I did some healing. I did a lot of time by myself to work on me and get to my root issues. And one of the things that was always prevalent and that I realized after I went through my healing process is a lot of times the reason why people have such a negative perspective on relationships, and they say, oh, they'll give you a whole bunch of just statistics about how marriages don't work and why relationships fail, but what they don't realize is oftentimes we get connected with the wrong people for the wrong reasons,
mhm,
and we don't truly seek after true connection. And I always say this in my podcast, some of my episodes, I talk about how connection is the missing key.
mhm,
Connection is the thing that keeps you from cheating. Connection is the thing that keeps you wanting to fight and keeps you from just giving up. It's when you have a true connection, and I don't think enough people invest in a connection. A lot of
mhm.
us settle, and we
Right.
say, oh, well, they're great in this area. I may not, like this particular thing, or this thing doesn't really fly with me. We'll use sex as an example. If this person doesn't have a high sex drive and you know that you do, you kind of push past that and say, oh, but they're great. They're good to me, and they treat me good and they treat me respectful. But you're not being honest with yourself and saying, okay, sex is important to me. So if this person and I are not on the same page sexually, eventually, once the honeymoon phase wears off, that's going to become a real issue in your relationship. But people
Yes.
jump in and out of relationships thinking that it's going to solve their issues instead of being real with themselves and dealing with their past pain, past hurt, past resentment, and they take it out on the next person instead of dealing with their issues. And it's
Yeah.
an
I think,
individual thing.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I think you hit it right. You know, it's like, I think as humans, we tend to always dwell on the past and we hang
Hmm.
on to it. And we don't let that baggage go.
Hmm.
And we tend to keep it with us through our next relationship, through our next relationship. And it
Hmm.
never works because we're hanging on to that, you know?
Hmm.
And I agree with you. We have to let it go and
You
just
have to
focus
heal.
on now. And we have to heal, right?
You have to heal, and you
Exactly.
have to know who you are and know your value. And I don't think people do enough self work,
Yeah.
and then they wonder why their relationships don't work. Well, if you're
Uh-huh.
if you're not healed and whole as an individual, how can you expect to attract somebody that's healed and whole? Healed and whole. You're not.
Hmm.
You're going to attract somebody that's broken too, because your brokenness is attracting brokenness. And I'm not saying that you can't find somebody great in the state of being broken, but it's a lot less likely. When you
Right. And
do
it's
the work,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you do the
That's
work,
interesting.
you know who you are and you know
Yep.
what you will and will not tolerate in a relationship. And
Yeah.
that's what my podcast is about, and that's what my music is about. And I'm very passionate about it, as you can tell.
Oh, absolutely. I was about to say that. So, you know, I can hear the passion coming out just as I do the same thing. I get really
Hmm.
passionate about what I do,
Hmm.
and you can hear it. And that's the question I was asking, you know, getting ready to ask you was, so let's give us a timeline. So you started in music,
Hmm.
you're always a singer, and then as you started writing songs, while you were backing first and you're writing songs, and then the podcast comes. So all this, tell us how all this ties together, the timeline. Tell us because I'm interested to know how you go from one to the other. Because you're like me, you're very busy. You do a lot of different things, and
Mhm.
how do you tie it together, and how does it work?
You
You
know
know?
what? And let me just say, yes, I've always done music, but I took quite a bit of a hiatus out of music because most of my music was done in a church setting or in a gospel platform.
Oh,
And
okay.
so for me, I was born and raised in that, and I come
Hmm.
from a family of singers. I actually come from a family of singers, actresses, and models, and all of that. So we are all in the arts. So
Hmm.
everybody does something in the arts. And so
Nice.
growing up, at 4 years old, I was introduced to music and singing and all of those things. And my aunts have a production company called Brown and Brown Productions in New York. And when we would go visit them in the summer in New York, we would go on the on Broadway and do some of their plays. And a lot of them were musicals. So we were singing and we were acting. So I've
Hmm.
always been in that. But the podcast came about really from my passion. I
Hmm.
got tired of hearing all the negative things on social media about how relationships are just a old antiquated idea, and marriage specifically is not it's a thing of the past, and people should never get married anymore, and why would you do this and put yourself in a situation where somebody can ruin your life. And let's be clear, I am a woman that is twice divorced. I got married the first time at 18, which was very young. My ex-husband was in the military. And
That's a tough life.
yeah, it's a tough life. And that's
Yeah.
not why. We got married really young, and he still had his wild oats to soar to sow. And I wasn't here for that. So
Right.
and it really broke my heart because I did genuinely love him. And when I took my vows, I take them seriously.
Hmm.
So I went through that, and then I ended up marrying a guy that I should have never married, my second husband. And we were just friends, and I wasn't even physically attracted to him, but because he treated me nice at that time, I thought it was great because it was such opposite of what I was getting from my first husband with the cheating and the things that he did to me.
Hmm.
Um, up in this relationship with this guy that actually was abusive.
Oh.
And so I I ended up, just broken. You got to realize I was very young. I got married at 18, was married to the first husband for 7 years. I had a year in between, got married to the second husband, was married to him for 10 years because I believe in my commitment. A
Yes.
guy that I wasn't even really interested in.
Hmm.
And I stayed in those things because I thought that was what you were supposed to do.
Right.
So, as a person that has been through so much trauma and so many things in my life, and for me to still have a positive perspective on relationships and marriage and still believe in it, and to hear society go to this place where we're just so jaded and
Yeah.
so broken and just give up on the whole concept of an idea that has been a part of our history from the beginning,
Right.
to to the point where I just felt like I had to do something. It was a part of my, I feel like it's a part of my purpose. So
Right.
I had to do something. And that's where the podcast came in. So
Okay.
once the podcast came in, it was like I can't even take credit for it. I have to give it to God because I literally was like one day sitting there and I was doing my editing of my podcast, and I was like, you know, it would be really good if I wrote some songs that talked about the different things that people face in relationships, the good times, the bad times, the
Hmm.
fighting times, all of the different dynamics. And that's where it really came from, literally.
Yeah, it's a thing called life, right? Because
Uh-huh.
I think another problem that we face too is everybody thinks that you're gonna have the white picket fence life, everything's gonna be perfect, and I know a lot of the statement that nothing is perfect. There is
Mhm.
going to be ups and downs and very hard times
Mhm.
and very good times and
Mhm.
and mediocre times, but it's what we do with those times, how we get through it. And me personally, I never want to be divorced. I want to work it out. I want to
Of
figure it out.
course.
But
Of course.
it didn't go that way, and I'm okay with that. I have to live with that. It took me a while to get over it, but I
Mhm.
have to live with it, and
Mhm.
I am.
Mhm.
So.
And I feel like it's a process, and that's where the healing comes in.
Mhm.
Because nobody gets married with the idea of I'm going to divorce you. Like nobody, I don't think anybody goes into it saying,
I don't know. I know
okay,
some people that talk like that. They're looking at the money.
well, we're talking about, so, and when I speak this, I'm speaking on the level of people that are vibrating at a higher frequency then one of my people that know me well, they know I'm always calling a person raggedy. We're not talking about raggedy people. We're talking about
Raggedy people.
healed,
Right.
healed, whole people that literally want, the right things and have the right motives for why they do what they do. And for
Absolutely.
me, that passion, I just don't want people to give up on the fact that God wants us to be happy. I don't
Right.
care what people say. Oh, people are like, oh, people are not meant to be with the same person forever. That's a bunch of hooey to me. I feel like some people are not monogamous, but some people are monogamous. And
Yeah.
and I have friends that are polyamorous. I have friends that are in same sex relationships. I have all kinds of different dynamics around me. And I will
Uh-huh.
tell you, of the people that I know, very few people are actually polyamorous.
Uh-huh.
That's not the majority,
Right.
because it takes a certain type of discipline and mindset to be polyamorous.
Uh-huh.
If we're really honest and honest with ourselves, most of us would get jealous at the mere thought of us entertaining someone else.
Right. That is true.
So for
That
people
is
that
true.
use that as an excuse, they use, oh, I just want to be able to have multiple people. You want to have multiple people because you don't want to have discipline.
You're
You
not
lack
happy, right? You're still trying
discipline.
to figure yourself out. Yep.
Or just trying to figure
Absolutely.
yourself out. But I think
Yep.
the primary root to it is you lack discipline. You
Yeah.
want to be able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how you want to do it. And life is not built to develop some type of discipline in whatever it is that we do, whether it be
Right.
our job, whether it be our relationship, whether it be our career, whatever that is, it requires a level of discipline. And it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to just go ahead and sleep around. But what's more challenging and what develops character in you is when you are committed to a person and a relationship, even when it's hard, even when they're not doing everything that you think they should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
you beat me to it.
I can go into a whole situation about that, but
Yeah, because you beat me to it, because that was my next, statement was going to be, because when it gets hard,
hmm
humans stop because we don't. Oh, it's too
hmm
hard. I don't want to deal with that.
yeah,
So we go for the easy things, right? If it's
pressure
too
makes
hard, we don't want to deal
diamonds.
with it. Right.
Pressure makes diamonds.
Yep.
You're not going to get anything beautiful without some level of pressure. I
Yep.
say it from my personal experience as an entrepreneur with 3 businesses, and I'm a vice president in my career. I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you everything that I've ever done that was extremely successful were things that I did outside of my comfort zone, that I did that were not comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have to be willing to be uncomfortable in order to have what it is that you say you really want. How bad
Mm-hmm.
do you want it?
How bad
Because
do
you're
you
going
want
to
it?
be
Right.
tested.
Yep. Absolutely. So, did the book come before the podcast?
The book came while I was so the no, the podcast was first. The book
Oh,
came
okay.
while I was doing the music. Believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
I had gone, so my book is about my experiences with sexual assault and domestic violence, and that's what I profit around. And I talk about, some of my personal experiences. It was a part of my journey for healing as I was going through trauma therapy, and I hired an author coach to kind of help me get all of those thoughts on paper. And when I wrote the book, it was really to break the generational curse of sexual assault in my family, because it's been generations that
Mm-hmm.
have been affected by it.
Wow.
And I remember when I was going through that process, and it was hard. And of course, I had to ask, certain family members for permission to talk about different things,
Mm-hmm.
but it needed to be talked about because it was a part of my journey that I was dealing with. And I remember it just in my journey, God showing me that He would use me to be that example and break that curse over my family, because for so many years, everybody was silent, nobody was talking.
Yeah.
And it happened often in sexual assault for sure. But it wasn't until that particular type of situation happened and it affected one of my children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the first person to stand up and actually put the perpetrator in jail.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went through the whole legal process. I did something that nobody had done in my family.
Mm-hmm. And does your book talk about this, the
It
details of
does,
the
very
process that you went through?
extensively. Yep, it
Yeah.
talks about it, and it gives people advice on what to do when you're in those situations.
That was my next question. And I'm going to say, is there advice that you could give, and is there a website that listeners could go to if they feel that they want to
Absolutely.
learn more about this?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I am outside of the book. My nonprofit is we take the oath.org or .com. I have both.
Oh,
Um,
great.
but it's called Oath, and it's an acronym, Oath, which is short for Overcoming Abuse Through Healing.
Mm-hmm.
That's my nonprofit, but I am also a life coach. So I'm a life coach, I'm a business coach, and I'm a career coach. So I
Mm-hmm.
started in life coaching, and a lot of my clients are people that have been experienced or have experienced sexual assault or domestic violence. And so I have a weekly support group that I have for people that are dealing with domestic violence right now. Um, but that is also, you can reach me on ericajanelle.com. That's my coaching website. And
Okay.
that's where people can book me for coaching sessions, and we can kind of go through that journey
Mm-hmm.
of kind of working through that healing process. Because I knew that ultimately all of the therapy and the trauma therapy and the coaching that I did personally was the turning point for me that helped me become a person that was no longer bitter or angry or hurting, but a person that's healed and whole, healed
Mm-hmm.
and whole. And when people see me, they can see it on me. They
Mm-hmm.
literally say, wow, you just walk like you're just so free. And I said, I am free. It took me years of being in bondage to really experience freedom.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important that, when you look at people, you can tell their aura that they give off,
Hmm.
of how they're feeling or what kind of person they are. And I think that's a great thing sometimes to be able to read people like that, to say, this person has a lot of energy. This
Hmm.
person looks like something's on their mind,
Hmm.
and a lot of times you just want to say, how can I help?
Yeah,
You know?
it's your intuition. Following your intuition is so
Yeah.
key. And we all have it as humans. We
Right.
just have to pay attention to it. I always tell people my intuition is my first mind. Before I follow my brain.
Hmm.
And I say that because that's the internal me that sees things that my brain may not even, it may take a second for my brain to catch up.
I get that a lot too. Sometimes I'll think about things 20 minutes later, like, oh my gosh, I wanted to say this or do this. Well, it's too
Exactly.
late now. It's
Yes,
gone.
yeah.
You don't have the
It's
chance anymore.
normal. Your brain is, I feel like when you're following your intuition, you're following your spirit, your inner spirit, the inner spirit part, spiritual part of you, which is
Right.
at a higher natural human.
Right.
And so I had to learn, how to navigate through those things myself. And then God used me to be a vessel to help other people
Mm-hmm.
on their journeys. And everything that I do in life, including my career, I'm a vice president of HR for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I do serves people,
Right.
but I wouldn't have it any other way. This is the first time in my life at almost 44 years old am I able to actually say that I am doing everything that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm acting, I'm modeling, I'm singing, I am doing, my podcast, I'm, working in HR, which is a passion of mine. I am doing everything that I love
Mm-hmm.
for the first time. And it
Right.
took me almost 44 years to get here.
Right. I'm with you. I am in the direction of my passion. I
Hmm.
love customer service. I
Hmm.
love helping people. And my career has taken me down different paths, as I got older and grew through life. And we tend to try to go a different path than we're supposed to, but as you know, the universe puts us where we're supposed to be, you know
Hmm.
and I'm figuring that out. I'm 53,
Hmm.
and it took me 53 years now to be like, look,
Yeah,
you are meant to be customer service. You are
you are
meant
meant to do
to
this.
coach and mentor people. And right. And that's why I love doing podcasting, because it
Hmm.
really hits the heart when people hear these podcasts, of hearing people's story, who they are,
Hmm.
what they're about, with their
Hmm.
business. And I love doing this,
Hmm.
and I just love helping people,
I'm
and
just
it's
saying,
a wonderful thing,
it's a beautiful thing, and it's nothing more fulfilling than when you find out why you're here. And so for the audience that's listening, I don't care how old you are or how young you are, anytime you have breath in your body, you have time to do what it is that you love to do. Start pursuing those things. Like, even the way I raise my children is different than how I was raised.
Hmm.
I teach my children, oh, I'm not going to tell you, oh, you have to go to college and you have to do this. the first thing I tell my children, find out what you love to do and what you're passionate about, and that's what we will develop.
Yeah.
If that requires you to go to college, then we'll go to college. If that requires you to start your own business, then you'll start as an entrepreneur. If that requires you to, I don't know, take a trade, then do that. But figure out what it is that you're passionate about, that you love, and that you're naturally good at, because 9 times out of 10, that's a part of your purpose.
Right. It's taken me a long time to get out of because I was a huge introvert. And it's
Mm-hmm.
taken me a long time to really stand up for myself and say, do things for yourself for once, you know?
Absolutely.
And I have
Absolutely.
all these goals now and dreams, and I'm pursuing everything that I want to,
I
you know?
love it. I love it. That
Yeah.
makes me happy to hear, because that's where
Yeah.
I'm at. I'm in the same situation. Is it
Yep.
easy? No.
No, it is
Is
not.
it
It
for
is
the faint of
far
heart?
from easy.
Absolutely not. And this is
It is
why
far from easy. We know
most
that.
people don't do it, because it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and
Because they're
because it
scared.
challenges you, and
Hmm.
because it's scary. But I tell people every time, anything I've ever done that was fantastic, I did it afraid.
Yeah. Yep. And I fall into this too recently, where we come up with excuses.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much I need to do and want to do, but I always end up finding excuses not to do the things that I need to do. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you get out of that and you do that thing that you need to do, but you put that excuse aside, it makes you feel so much better and so much energized. It
Mm-hmm.
just, it's amazing
Mm-hmm.
how you'll talk yourself off the ledge. And I got a, a pile of books I've just reading and reading and reading on all the psychology and all the
Mm-hmm.
stuff on sales and how to be a better person. And it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing what you can really find out about yourself if you just allow it to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
And stop
Yeah.
self-sabotaging yourself with your limitations. You
Yeah.
have to you have to speak higher than what you see, because if all you ever speak is what you see, then that's all you're ever capable of getting. My
Absolutely.
vision is gigantic. My
Well,
vision is huge, and I
yeah,
know
you have a
I've
lot
actually
going on.
started to see myself in those places.
Right, and you do a lot. You have a lot of different things going on, and I commend you for that. I wish I could be that level. I've only got a couple of things going, and that's enough for me. So I commend you for everything that you're doing. It's a great thing that you're doing, especially with your passions coming out in your music, your book. You're telling your story. You're podcasting about how to help people.
Mhm.
And I think all these things put together, you're helping yourself, but you're also helping society. You know,
Absolutely.
and I
Absolutely.
love it. That's such a great thing.
Absolutely.
So, well, how do we reach out to you? How do we contact you?
Okay, so I am on Instagram. My handles for both of those are Erica Janelle Music, and I'll spell it. It's EricaJaNelleMuzik. I had to take music and spell it a little differently because it was already taken.
I
Um,
was here to say, I bet it was taken, right? So it's Muzik.
or you can visit me on my website, www.ericajanellemusic.com. That's for my music. My coaching is www.ericajanelle.com, which is my coaching courses. I also have a YouTube channel for my coaching, which is Erica Janelle Life Coaching on YouTube. Let's see. I think that's most of my platforms, but my podcast is available on any podcast platform, including Spotify. So
Spotify.
you can just look up Relationship Talks with Erica Janelle for the podcast.
Okay.
And the album
And
is dropping.
yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say, so the book is out, the album's dropping, and
Book is
this new
available
song.
everywhere. It's sold
Yeah.
everywhere. Even I got my first client in China, and I was like, oh my
Wow.
God, somebody
Con-
bought my book in China.
Congratulations. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so it's and I just, I kept everything under my own name. So I self produced my music, and I self published a book as well.
Hmm.
So
That's great. Very,
yeah.
very impressive. Very impressive.
And look, these are all things I'd never done before. So I just want to encourage people. Just because you've never done it doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah, step out the comfort zone. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It took me a while. I remember when I did my first business back in 2008, and I only targeted mainly restaurants. And I
Mhm.
would drive up to the restaurant, have all my paperwork in hand, everything I got to say. I'd sit there, look at the front door, and drive off. I
Oh,
would not go in because I
because
just
of
did not have the
your,
confidence.
yeah, you didn't have the confidence. And
Yep.
confidence comes from stepping out. So the more you step out, the more confident you'll become. And I'm sure you're noticing that.
Oh, 1000%. Oh my gosh. It's amazing how when I meet strangers now, it's just I talk up a storm. I can get to know somebody within 5 minutes, and I can get their life story within
Hmm.
5 minutes. It's
Oh yeah,
amazing,
me too.
you
Me too.
know,
It's always
and I
been a
love it.
gift.
Yeah,
But
I love it.
I don't want to forget to give you guys the title of the book because I don't think I did that.
You
um,
did
it's
not.
for those that are interested. It's called Voice of a Victim: Overcoming the Generational Curse of Sexual Assault and Incest in the Family.
Okay. And that's
Yes,
available. Is that it's on Amazon and anywhere you get
it's on
books?
Amazon. It's anywhere you would buy books. You would
Okay.
probably have to order it if you're going somewhere like Barnes and Noble, but
Yeah.
it's internationally distributed.
Right. So we gotta get you a book signing.
Yeah,
That's the next
that's
thing.
in the works. I figured I'd get the album out first, which drops, like I said, August 11th through the 15th, depending on the platform.
Yeah, that's coming up
Um,
very soon.
yes, it's coming up
Yeah.
very soon. I'm super,
Great.
super excited. So
That's
I've been
awesome.
booking venues, and I'm just so humbled and grateful to be able to do what I love.
Right.
And it's no better feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can hear it in your voice. You can feel the passion coming through the phone. And I think that's a great thing. And just keep doing what you're doing, right? Keep pushing through and do what
Yes,
makes
sir.
you happy.
Yes, you as
You
well,
know?
Charles. You got
Yeah.
this. We've got
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. It's I'm pushing through, man. I'm
It's
living.
not easy.
It's
It's not
not.
easy. It's a lot of money, a lot of work, a lot of time, a
Yeah.
lot of effort. But
Yeah.
if it's something you love, it's worth it.
Absolutely. 1000%. Yep. So in closing, Erica, tell our audience, give us some closing notes here.
Um, Believe in yourself. When everybody around you tells you that you can't do something, prove them wrong by doing it. I can't tell you the many times in my life I was told, oh, you're not ever going to be a leader, or you're not ever smart enough to do this, or you're not this, or you're not that. And everything that everybody said to me that I would not do, I am doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, the
Hmm.
secret. And a line that sticks out with me is you can have, be, and do anything you want.
Hmm.
You
You are
can.
the only person that can put those limits on you, nobody else.
You got it. Absolutely. Our minds is the only thing that's holding us back, right?
Hmm.
You know?
Yep. Change your
Absolutely.
mind, change your life. Yes,
There
sir.
you go. Absolutely. Erica, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Same, Charles. Thank you so much for having me here. And I
Absolutely.
can't wait to do this again.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely have to follow back up, and we'll have to do another podcast on when the album drops and
Hmm.
see how we're go moving forward.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Erica, for coming on and podcast interview with me. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Had a great time. Thank you so much. Likewise.
Absolutely.
All
Take
righty.
care.
All
Have a
righty.
great evening.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye. You've been listening to the Q.A.C. Team podcast with your host, Charles Luttrell. Connect with us on the web at qacteam.com, Facebook and Instagram at qac.team. Thanks for listening.